Good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Angela Green with Leon County Sheriff's Office. Joining me today in for Sheriff Walt McNeil is Assistant Sheriff Ron Cave. Ron, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning.
Now, this is a time of year where people are shopping and, I call it road rage sometimes, but adding on to that, the partying and everything, it's just a bad time for drivers.
It is. It's a tough time. It's a tough time anyways for driving, but the holiday season certainly brings that out. There you got increased traffic, you got increased stresses, and those two mixtures often are not positive.
I feel like ever since I've come to the Sheriff's Office, I've been more aware. Obviously, we have to take certain driving tests here, and there's some, even with our teen driving challenge, that my son, just watching him drive, you have to be so aware. Driving around neighborhoods, you have cyclists, yes, which is a bigger thing because y'all, you ride bikes. I do. You drive your bike year round? Is that what you say?
Well,
drive or ride or what?
Ride, yeah, you ride your bike, but I do try to ride my bike fairly often. I used to be much more dedicated to it than I was, but it is dangerous out there. And I try to stick to bike trails because those are less dangerous. But if you're on the roads, it can be a very dangerous combination for sure because you have people that's not aware and paying attention.
Well, this whole show we want to focus on driving, and we have Mothers Against Drunk Driving is going to go through. We even have somebody who personally has gone through a tragic incident to where I hope our viewers today take away some things. You've been doing this for a long time. Just off the top of your head, you immediately said, yeah, I have some experience with that as a cyclist and everything else. What do you hope to accomplish with this segment?
Well, I hope to accomplish an awareness to the citizens, because I think a lot of people don't realize how dangerous it can be. I think last year there were some 195 fatalities, and that's staggering and very, very scary. So I hope awareness more than anything else, so that when you do see cyclists out there, you've got that awareness and that you make sure that there's a safe road for all.
And overall, as an agency, we pay attention to accidents with our own people, and that's a big deal. I think anytime you drive a car, you just have to look at ways to resolve those and preventable accidents also. Yeah,
something that Sheriff McNeil has instituted really within the last couple of years is a robust risk management program. In fact, we've dedicated a resource person to risk management because it is so important, and driving is a huge risk management piece for any agency, especially a law enforcement agency. You probably remember when you started, we had you go through driver training, and we continually have people go through that throughout their career, because it's not something you just do once.
Absolutely not. Well, this is an interesting conversation that is very timely, so I'm looking forward to hearing everything. All right, so everybody coming up, Mothers Against Drunk Driving is joining us, and they have a very important message in their new holiday campaign. We'll tell you which group they're focusing on and how you can keep your family safe. Stay with us.
Good morning. I'm Captain Jimmy Goodman with the Leon County Sheriff's Office, and this is your Crime Tip Tuesday. ATM safety. Choose your ATM carefully. Avoid nighttime transactions. Always be aware of your surroundings. Lock your doors at drive-through ATMs. Look for card skimmers. Cover your hand while entering your PIN number. Do not count money at the ATM. Have a great week. Stay safe out there.
Welcome back to Leon County Today. Joining me now is Claudia Machado with Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Claudia, MADD has started its holiday campaign to bring the number of deadly accidents down across the country and here in Florida. This year, there's a different group that you're focusing on.
Hello, first, thank you so much for inviting us again. I always love to come during the holidays because we have a great message to designate a sober driver. And this year, when we talk about MADD, a lot of people relate to MADD with vehicles, and they don't think about other groups that can be affected by a drunk driver, which are cyclists. So we're very happy this year. We're the first one in the nation to focus our 36-year holiday campaign, Taiwan for Safety, specifically for cyclists. In Florida last year, over 6,900 crashes involved the cyclists. Out of those, about 195 fatalities. And out of the 6,000, about 5,900 had serious injuries. So the cyclist community is being affected in Florida. It's a big community in Florida. It's amazing to ride bikes because their weather is pretty cool. Now in Tallahassee, the weather is so nice to do trails. And we want to open this conversation that when you make the decision to drink and drive, not only can you affect yourself, but you can also affect everybody, a cyclist, a pedestrian, a family. So this year what we asked is for this ribbon that we gift you for cyclists to tie this ribbon in their bikes. So when they're riding along the trails or the road, people are gonna ask, so what is this ribbon? And this ribbon is a commitment to not drink and drive. We're partnering statewide with cycling clubs, with communities, let's say neighborhoods that like to ride bikes, and we will offer these ribbons for free. We will deliver them, we will drop them off, and we want to see a sea of red ribbons across Tallahassee and Florida, and making that commitment to not drink and drive.
Well, that's a tremendous campaign and tremendous awareness opportunity, I think, for citizens, because so oftentimes MAD is associated with vehicles, and I think this is great because driving or operating a bicycle on the road is dangerous in itself, and then you mix impaired drivers out there. It just is a horrible combination for sure. So thank you for doing that. And I know as part of MAD's logo, or saying it's grief in action, putting grief into action. So I think that's certainly a strong component to that. So
we like to say that we turn pain into purpose. Yeah. We don't want to be, we are reactive because we help the victims of these crimes, but we want to be proactive. It is a choice to drive impaired. And we want to have people to make the decision before they go out. Are they going to take an Uber, a Lyft? The holidays are full of parties, there's alcohol. We're not an anti-alcohol organization. We're just saying if you're 21 and over and you know there's going to be alcohol, make the decision to take an Uber, Lyft, designate a sober driver. If you're hosting a party, make sure you have a sofa or you have a place where people can crash, take away the keys. A lot of people during the holidays are like, how can we change the world? How we can help? I don't have money, but I want to do something. You know what? Taking somebody's keys and making sure somebody doesn't drive impaired, you're saving the world. You're saving a life, and you're making sure the holidays are happy.
Right, and I think a key takeaway there, at least for me, is having a plan. If, as you said, you're not anti-alcohol, but you've got to have a plan. And I know it's difficult for families and parents to have that discussion sometimes with, especially younger. I mean, I've got a 22-year-old daughter, and we've had that discussion and say, always have a plan, always have a designated driver, always have an Uber or somebody ready and prepared. So absolutely, thank you for that, for sure.
No, thank you for inviting me. If anybody wants these ribbons, they can either contact us on our Facebook page, MAD Northwest Florida, or they can also call us 850-681-0061, and I will personally deliver them. And we have tip cards. Also, we have in the back our 2023 Ride Like Mad Florida Tour Florida is coming up in May. It's a cycling challenge that we want to encourage people. We want the cyclist community that is so passionate about riding bikes to be involved and be safe.
Well, thank you again, Claudia, and really appreciate all your efforts. Coming up, we'll hear from a victim who dedicates his everyday life to protecting and serving the community. His story of recovery and the dangers of impaired driving is after the break. Joining me now is Tallahassee Police Officer Ed Campbell. Thanks for joining me and to tell your story. Now, I know you were a victim in a drunk driving accident back in 2019. Take us back to that night, if you will, and what you remember and the incident itself.
Right, and thank you so much for having us all on here. So yeah, back in December 9th of 2019, I was involved in a drunk driving crash. I had just gone off my shift at 2 o'clock. I worked for the Gaston County Sheriff's Office back then. I got off the Thompson Road exit in Tallahassee in my patrol unit. When I got up to the light at Raymond Deal and Thompson Road, I remember seeing a TPD car sitting. I think he was going north on Thompson Road. And if you know the flyover at all, you can't see anyone coming southbound when you're sitting there at Raymond Deal Road. So when my light turned green, I started going through the intersection. And I remember kind of out of the corner of my eye seeing something coming towards me and just thinking, this is probably going to be it. After that, I don't remember much after that, but from what I was told, I was ejected from the vehicle, and luckily the officer was there, able to get everyone EMS and get the police there pretty quickly, so I was able to get the TMH in a relatively short amount of time. but it was crazy. And just to think about how I went from working a regular normal shift, just being my normal self, you know, kissing my son goodnight, to now I'm in a hospital, don't know where I'm at, don't know what's going on.
When did you regain consciousness? Were you at the hospital?
So I would say I was in and out when I was a TMH, but really I regained consciousness, but I don't really remember anything until I got to Shands in Jacksonville. So that was about a couple days to a week later that I really started remembering anything.
And then when you're at Shands with family, people oftentimes don't realize the impact that drunk driving and accidents have on the families. What did your family go through?
I can't even imagine. I mean, I think about my wife, and my heart goes out for her, because thinking about being woken up at 2:30 in the morning, being told by you know, 2 officers from Gaston County that, hey, we need to go to the hospital because we don't know if your husband's going to make it. He was just involved in a really bad crash. And then her having to wake up my son, who was 1 year old at the time, and going to the hospital. That was tough. And then she had to call my parents, who, my parents and all my family live up in Pennsylvania. So having them fly all the way down here with short notice, within a couple hours flying down here. And again, taking that trip and not even knowing if your son is going to be alive when you get down there. So that was, I can't imagine what they went through, but it wasn't good.
Wow. Well, thank goodness you did survive it. What impacts has this had on you personally now? Not only as a law enforcement officer, but just as a citizen. And how has that changed your life?
So I would say, you know, when we talk physically, we'll talk physically, mentally. Physically, obviously there's some serious impacts there, things which I was able to overcome with, you know, a good support team at home, good support team at work as well, going to the rehab and everything. But also mentally, just trying to work your way through all that, getting back behind a wheel, being able to trust people to drive you around. I know that for a while, going through any intersection was kind of tough, but especially over there at Thomasville Road. So every time I pass the intersection, which I do daily, because that's my area I work in, I always think about it.
Yeah, wow. Has this turned you into a stronger advocate, you think, for drunk driving, or were you already, you know, I know a lot of times persons in law enforcement has a strong passion for, you know, looking for, you know, drunk drivers or impaired drivers. Has it changed you as a law enforcement officer in any way?
Absolutely. Before that, I'd never worked a single DUI crash or pulled anyone over for DUI. After that, I've done a lot of DUIs since then, since coming to the Tallahassee Police Department. It's something I like to focus on. I know I have friends that focus on it as well, and it's something that TPD absolutely promotes, is trying to pull drunk drivers over and getting them off the street, because it is a hazard.
How about the individual that hit you? What happened with them?
So back in the beginning of the year, there was an open plea, and he pled guilty, but he was sentenced to, I think it was just over 4 years, and right now he's serving time in the Department of Corrections in Florida.
Well, thank you, Officer Campbell, for sharing your story. I know it's a tough one. Coming up next is our Deputy on Duty segment with Assistant Sheriff Steve Harrelson. He'll explain how his dedication to being all in has inspired a career of service.
On this episode of Leon County Today's Deputy on Duty, we introduce you to Assistant Sheriff Steve Harrelson.
We're here to serve, and I take that very seriously. I have had that in my heart for the 34 years I've been here.
Harrelson's time in the Army as a military police officer led him to the Leon County Sheriff's Office back in 1989. Since then, his career has been a roller coaster ride, rising through the agency ranks of sergeant, lieutenant, captain, major, and chief.
I've been to calls where I've had to chase possums off the back porch of somebody's house or get a snake out of a kitchen. Had one call where I had to change a light bulb for someone who didn't have anybody to change a light bulb for. That's what we do.
In 2018, Harrelson took a break from LCSO when he served as the director for the Consolidated Dispatch Agency, which provides 911 dispatching services for LCSO, the Tallahassee Police and Fire Departments, and the county's EMS. He returned to LCSO in 2020 to take on his current role as one of LCSO's 3 assistant sheriffs. He now oversees the agency's departments of judicial services, the detention facility, and reentry programs.
Most of my career was in law enforcement, and then when the sheriff had me come over and be the assistant sheriff over detention, I knew this world, but I didn't know this world as much as I thought I did. And there are some amazing things that happen in this building because my staff every single day are dealing with the folks that are here. And like I said, it's not our job to judge, but we are doing our part for community service, because if we can inspire folks to not recidivate and not come back in here, not reoffend, then that's also service to the community, because they're not going back out doing things to the community and then winding up back here again.
And Harrelson is known for being an out-of-the-box thinker, creating new programs and projects to benefit the agency, its employees, and the citizens of Leon County.
There's so much more a law enforcement or detention officer has to do nowadays. So getting projects done has always been a thing of mine, because we need to get them, because we got to change with society.
And now that he's in an administrative role, Harrelson finds it hard to just sit on the sidelines. He is always engaged in whatever needs to get done, whether it's planning a luncheon for the staff or that time he came up with LCSO's mantra of all in.
We have to do new things, and we have to bring new programs, because some of the old things we were doing in the past didn't work, and that's what developed the All In Initiative. It was about involving the entire community. It's kind of like a small town effect, where, you know, I was raised in a small town, Jasper, Florida, and you knew everybody. Everybody knew everybody's business, you know, and everybody knew everybody's name. And when there was a problem, you know, people would chip in to help out.
And with so many years of service under his belt, there will come a time when Assistant Sheriff Harrelson considers retirement, which he says will come pretty soon. But looking back on the last 3 decades, he says his biggest accomplishments are raising his 2 sons alongside his amazing wife while sacrificing family time for a career that demands countless hours and dedication. He's also proud to play a small role in helping dozens of others under his command and throughout LCSO build their own long-term rewarding career.
It's about watching these folks and watching their lives develop. That's what I'm most proud of. And I'm able to do that from the sidelines and not really engage. I'm able just to watch what little bit I had influence I had over their lives, and watching how it grows and everything. And don't expect anything in return. Just to be able to see this and see it happen is paving enough.
Now, if you're looking for a job with LCSO, check out all of our job openings on our website, leoncountyso.com. I'm Angela Green for Leon County Today. Ron, I am so excited that we're able to tell Steve Harrelson's story, because I know that I always find out new things about him every time I talk to him. And I know that I bug a lot of y'all, all the assistant sheriffs, all the time. And he's right about the fact that you all just kind of have your hands in everything.
Yeah, and you don't bug us. You're passionate about your topics. But no, Steve has a tremendous amount of knowledge, experience, and dedication to this agency and this community. Absolutely. And I knew Steve long before I worked here, and he's got a great reputation.
And you're approaching 30 years.
Yes.
Man.
3 years. So. Yeah.
3 years.
Yeah, in 3 years I'll have 30.
And, you know, I always use these as recruiting angles, everybody. So, you know, what would you tell people watching the Deputy on Duty segments, knowing your own background and history, what would you tell people watching about that career of service?
Well, you are not going to find a better career that provides you with a fulfillment in life, in my opinion, than serving as a law enforcement officer. It's a tough job. I'm not going to say it's easy. Absolutely. You're not going to make a ton of money, but the fulfillment that you've got in making a difference is bar none.
I love it. Even being on the non-sworn side, it has been so rewarding and giving back in ways that you have no idea. And I think that people don't understand, you don't have to be sworn to work here. There's several other positions here. So.
Absolutely.
All right, well, you can find out about all the jobs here at LCSO on our website, and we'll also post more details about MAD's campaign on our social media pages, so make sure that you're following us. Thank you for joining us, but for those jobs and so much more, make sure you check out our website, leoncountyso.com. Thanks so much, Ron, for being here with us today, and we'll see you next week.